They did not bring her gently. The alien woman was dragged into the cargo bay by 2 armored guards and thrown forward like useless scrap. Her body hit the metal floor with a dull sound. She did not scream. She did not resist. She only lay there, breathing shallowly, her silver blue skin marked with burns and cuts. One of her legs bent the wrong way. One eye was swollen shut. A control collar glowed around her neck, blinking red like a warning light. The guards laughed loudly. "Careful," one of them said mockingly. "She's fragile, almost dead." They pushed her again, straight toward a lone human standing near the wall. His name was Elias Crane. He wore a simple work uniform, stained with oil and dust. No weapons, no rank markings, just another human laborer on a foreign war station. "There you go, human," the second guard said. "A gift." The guards laughed harder. "She's damaged," the first one added. "Broken in the last raid. Can't fight, can't run, perfect for a joke." Elias did not move. His hands slowly clenched into fists. The alien woman lifted her head slightly. Her remaining good eye locked onto Elias. There was no anger in her gaze. No hope either. Only tired fear. She had seen this before. She knew what usually came next. Elias felt his chest tighten. "Why give her to me?" he asked quietly. The guards looked surprised. They expected begging or laughter. "Because you're human," one of them replied with a grin. "And humans are weak. We thought you'd enjoy having something even weaker than you." They turned and walked away, still laughing, boots echoing against the metal floor. The bay doors sealed shut behind them. Silence followed, heavy, cold. The alien woman tried to crawl backward. Her injured leg dragged uselessly behind her. Every movement brought pain, but fear pushed her forward. She expected the human to grab her, to hurt her, to make her scream like the others had. Elias slowly stepped forward, then stopped. He lowered himself to one knee, keeping distance between them. His voice was calm, soft, almost shaking. "I won't hurt you," he said. She froze. Her body did not believe his words. "I promise," he added. The alien woman studied him carefully. Humans were strange, small, soft-looking. She had been told they were cruel in quiet ways. She waited for the lie to break it. It didn't. Elias removed his jacket. He placed it gently on the floor and pushed it toward her. "You're cold," he said. Her hands trembled as she pulled the fabric closer. It was warm. It smelled unfamiliar, but not unpleasant. Her throat tightened. She whispered in broken common. Elias looked at the injuries covering her body, at the collar around her neck, at the way she tried to make herself smaller, because no one should be treated like this. He replied. Her eye widened slightly. She had heard many words since her capture, insults, orders, threats, pain, but never that. The control collar around. Her neck blinked again, brighter this time. She flinched, expecting the shock. Elias noticed. "Don't worry," he said. "I see it." He reached into his tool pouch and pulled out a small device. His hands shook not from fear, but from anger. Disabling a slave collar was illegal on this station. Humans had already been warned not to interfere. Elias didn't care. Slowly, carefully, he worked on the collar. One wrong move could kill her. The alien woman held her breath. A sharp spark flashed. The collar went dark. She gasped and collapsed forward. sobbing quietly. The pain, the fear, the constant pressure in her mind gone. Elias sat back, exhausted. "You're safe," he said. She looked up at him through tears. "No one has ever done this for me," she whispered. Elias swallowed hard. "Then someone should have done it sooner," he replied. And in that silent cargo bay, what was meant to be a cruel joke became the beginning of something no one on the station expected. The cargo bay smelled of metal and fear, but Elias did not move away. He stayed beside her, silent, letting the shock settle. The alien woman, still trembling, tried to stand but fell back onto the cold floor. Her good eye darted nervously around the room, expecting more guards, more pain. "My name is Sierra," she whispered, her voice cracked and soft. They said humans are cruel." Elias shook his head. "Not all humans," he said quietly. Some of us do what is right." Sierra's chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. Her body was bruised, burnt, and broken, but there was still life inside her. Elias could see it in her gaze, the stubborn spark of a warrior, a survivor, a being who refused to give up even when everything around her screamed surrender. He helped her move to a small corner of the cargo bay, a shadowed space where no cameras watched. He tore strips from his jacket to make bandages, cleaned the wounds as best he could with human med gel he carried, and splinted her broken arm with a metal rod and tape. Every movement caused her to wince, but Elias never flinched. His hands were gentle, careful, like he was handling something precious and fragile. Sierra watched him silently. Every touch was foreign, yet soothing. She had never been treated like this. Pain had always been followed by more pain, always a punishment for living. But Elias's hands offered nothing but care. "Why?" she asked again, barely louder than a whisper. "Because you're not a joke," Elias said. "You're a person, and no one deserves this treatment, no matter who they are." Tears rolled down her face. She wanted to believe him, but had learned long ago that promises were cheap. Pain was real. Pain was constant. Elias crouched beside her. "Do you want to know something?" He said softly, "Humans. We sometimes fight with our hands, with our weapons, even with our whole worlds. But the strongest humans I know fight with their hearts, with mercy, with courage, not cruelty." Sierra let the words sink in. She wanted to cry, but her body was weak. Her voice was barely audible. I thought mercy was for the weak." Elias shook his head slowly. "No, mercy is for the strong. Only those who are strong enough to protect life can give it freely. The rest, they destroy." She swallowed hard. Something inside her loosened, tension she hadn't realized had gripped her for years. She was used to being judged, used to being abandoned, used to being considered nothing more than a tool. Elias had changed that in a few quiet moments. Over the next few hours, he fed her water and small packets of food. She ate slowly, cautiously, testing whether trust was real or just another trap. Elias did not rush her. He sat quietly, telling her stories of Earth, of endless skies, oceans that shimmered under the sun, forests where animals ran free, and people who risked everything to protect strangers. Sierra listened. Each story was a thread weaving hope into her broken spirit. She could almost feel the warmth of those distant worlds, the courage of those distant humans, and it gave her a strange, fragile sense of safety. But safety on the station was a fragile illusion. Guards would return. The commander would notice the missing and if they found her here, she would die. Elias knew it. He had seen what this station did to those they called weak. Sira's voice broke the silence. Why do you care so much? Why risk yourself for me? Elias paused. He did not answer immediately. He wanted to find words that were honest but also safe, words that would not make her hope too much. Finally, he said, because if I don't, I lose something in myself, something I can't get back. I cannot watch someone suffer when I can help. For the first time since the raid, Sira allowed herself to lean against him. Not fully, not yet, but enough to feel the warmth of another living being without fear. Hours passed. Shadows lengthened. The sounds of the station clanging doors, distant voices, machinery became background noise. In the corner of that cold bay, something new began to grow. Trust. And trust, even for a broken warrior, was stronger than fear. Sira closed her eyes. Pain was still there. Her body was still weak. But for the first time in weeks, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Elias watched over her, silent, steady, unyielding. He knew the station would not forgive him if they discovered her, but at that moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the choice he had made to protect her, to heal her, to give her a chance at life. And for the first time, Sira realized that being damaged did not mean she was useless. It meant she had survived. And survival, she now knew, could lead to something far greater than vengeance. It could lead to freedom. The days passed slowly, each one stretching like a thin wire between fear and hope. Elias never left her side. The cargo bay became their secret world, a tiny corner where the station's chaos could not reach them. Sira lay on a makeshift bed of blankets and scraps of clothing. Her body was battered, her muscles stiff and sore, and every movement sent sharp pain shooting through her. Yet Elias stayed with her, quiet and patient, like a lighthouse in a storm. He cleaned her wounds carefully every day, applying medgel with hands that trembled just slightly enough to show he felt the weight of responsibility. The burns on her arms, the gashes across her torso, even the cracked bones in her arm and leg all were treated with painstaking care. Elias whispered words of reassurance while he worked, soft murmurs she could barely hear over her own ragged breathing. "You're stronger than you think," he said one evening as he pressed the last bandage in place. "You survived when they thought you would die. That alone proves it." Sira Esgood, I watched him, suspicious at first, then slowly softening. "Humans, they usually leave us," she said quietly, "or kill us if we're weak. Why are you different?" Elias shook his head, unable to explain fully. "Not all of us are cruel. Some humans see a life and refuse to harm it. That's all I know." She let the words settle. She wanted to believe him, but trust was fragile, like glass. She had learned long ago that promises could shatter with a single touch. Still, in the quiet of the small room, the rhythm of his voice, the gentle steadiness of his hands, began to feel like safety. Over the next days, Elias helped her sit, then stand, even as pain racked her body. He moved slowly, never forcing her, always supporting her when she faltered. Step by step, inch by inch, she began to walk again, leaning heavily on him at first, then gradually more on her own. "I thought I would never stand again," she admitted one night, her voice trembling as she leaned against the wall. "They made sure I'd remember weakness." "You're standing now," Elias said softly. That proves you are not weak. Sira's lips quivered, but no tears fell. Instead, she took a deep breath and stared at the floor. She had never received care like this, never known patience, never been given life when others expected her death. "You remind me of someone I used to be," she said after a long silence. "Before the war, before the raids, before they took everything." Elias nodded. "Maybe we can find some of that person again." Food became another bridge between them. Elias had only scraps, but he divided them carefully, watching as Sira ate small bites, testing the safety of the human offering. With each meal, each shared sip of water, trust grew, a fragile, flickering thing but real. She began to tell him stories of her home planet, of forests that glowed at night, of mountains taller than any human had ever climbed, of her unit, her friends, the life she had lost. Elias listened. He asked questions. He remembered names. He treated her as more than a broken soldier, more than a prize or a joke. He treated her as a person. One evening, when the station's artificial sun dimmed, Sira looked at him in silence. "You risked yourself," she said. "They would have killed you for helping me." "Why?" Elias paused. He wanted to answer honestly, to say it was for her, for justice, for courage, but the simplest truth came out first. "Because I could not watch someone suffer when I could stop it. That is all." Her gaze softened, the first hint of something like warmth breaking through the pain in her eye. "I thought humans were weak," she whispered. "But you are not weak at all." He shook his head, smiling faintly. "Strength isn't about fighting alone or surviving pain. It's about choosing what is right, even when it's hard. You're stronger than you know, and now, you're not alone." Sira's chest tightened. The word alone had been her constant companion, her shadow in the darkness, and for the first time in weeks, she felt it lift slightly. Elias had not only healed her body, he had begun to heal the deep, aching wounds in her spirit. Night after night, they stayed in the small room. Sira rested in silence while Elias kept watch, guarding her not just from the station's soldiers, but from the invisible weight of fear that pressed against her every moment. The bond between them grew without words. Trust, respect, and something more, something fragile and tender wove silently round the broken edges of their lives, and in the quiet corners of the station. A wounded alien woman began to remember hope. A human began to show what mercy could look like. Neither knew what the coming days would bring, but for the first time, Sira believed that she might live. Not just survive, but live, fully, freely, and for Elias. Protecting her had become more than duty, it had become a choice that defined him, a choice he would never regret, no matter the cost. The quiet did not last. Elias had hoped to hide Sira long enough for her body to heal, long enough for them to plan a way off the station. But the station was never still. Doors clanged, lights flickered, and distant footsteps echoed through the corridors. It was only a matter of time before someone noticed the missing Valerai. The first warning came in the form of a loud alarm. Red lights flashed across the maintenance room where Elias had been cleaning Sira's wounds. She stirred, fear flashing in her eyes. Her legs shook as she tried to stand, leaning heavily on him for support. "They found us," she whispered. Elias nodded, his jaw tight. "Yes, but don't worry. We'll handle it." He did not yet know how, only that he could not give her up. Not now, not ever. Minutes later, The door banged open. A commander stormed in, flanked by heavily armed guards. His armor gleamed under the harsh lights, and his expression was fury made flesh. "You think this is funny?" the commander shouted, his voice booming. "You steal from us. You hide our property." Elias stood, tall despite the fear curling in his stomach. Sira clutched his sleeve for balance, but he held her gently, letting her know she was not alone. "She's not property," Elias said calmly, though his heart pounded. "She is a living being. You have no right to treat her this way." The commander laughed a sharp, cruel sound that echoed in the small room. "A fragile human lecturing me about rights." He took a step closer. "Humans are weak, and so is she. Do you think anyone will believe you?" Behind Elias, Sira straightened. Despite her pain and exhaustion, her warrior's pride flared. Her voice, weak but unwavering, cut through the tension. "No," she said. "I am not yours. I will not be yours." The commander froze. His eyes narrowed. A broken alien speaking back, led by a human. Ridiculous. Impossible. "You are defiant," he hissed. "You will pay for this insolence." Elias stepped forward, keeping himself between her and the guards. His hands were empty, but his voice carried authority he did not feel. "You want her," he said. "You go through me." The commander's lip curled in amusement. A human and a wounded alien. How brave, how foolish. Ilios's gaze did not waver. "Foolish?" He asked softly. "Maybe, but I won't let you hurt her. Not one more time." The guards moved, stepping forward as the commander drew a weapon. Ilios's stomach sank, but he did not falter. His eyes searched the small room, the corners, the vents. Every second counted. Sira's hand found his arm. She squeezed lightly, not out of fear, but solidarity. Her trust in him was no longer fragile, it was a lifeline. "I will fight with you," she said, her voice stronger than her body should have allowed. The commander laughed again, stepping closer, his weapon raised. "Together. You cannot hope to stop us." Elias pressed a button on his wrist, a small, almost hidden device he had prepared. Sirens did not sound, but a signal was sent a human distress call across the station, encrypted and direct. Every corner of the station began to light up with warning signals, cameras transmitting live footage to human authorities in orbit. The commander froze. "You wouldn't," he whispered. Elias met his gaze evenly. "We already did." The tension in the room became unbearable. Guards looked around nervously as red lights and warning sirens filled the corridors outside. Elias remained calm, steady. He did not raise a weapon because he did not need to. The threat of human attention was enough. Sira's eyes widened. You called them." "Yes," Elias said simply. "They are watching. They know what you've done, and they will respond." For the first time, fear shifted. Not in Elias, not in Sira, but in their attackers. The commander's face paled slightly, his laughter gone. His plan to punish them both had crumbled in the instant he realized the station was no longer his to control. Sira looked at Elias, awe filling her gaze. You risked everything for me." Elias's lips pressed together. "It's not just for you," he said. "It's for what's right. Someone has to stand." The commander glared, searching for a response. But the human was calm, the alien was alive, and the balance of power had shifted without a single shot being fired in that tense, electric silence. it became clear the game had changed, and the station, with all its soldiers, alarms, and weapons, had underestimated the strength of someone willing to fight for mercy. Sira straightened beside Elias, her broken body still fragile but her spirit unyielding. She had been given to him as a joke, a weak plaything. But now, side by side, they were no longer prey. They were a force the station could not ignore, and that thought, burning quietly between them, was enough to make even the strongest soldier hesitate. The station was in chaos. Red alarms flashed across every corridor, and soldiers ran in every direction, unsure of what was happening. Elias and Sira remained in the small maintenance room, calm but alert. The hum of machinery mixed with distant shouts, and every second stretched like a lifetime. Elias pressed another button on his wrist. This one was different. It sent live feeds and encrypted messages directly to human fleets orbiting nearby sectors. Videos of the commander's cruelty, of the prisoners, of the laughing guards, were now being broadcast across the galaxy. Every human authority, every ally, every fleet could see the truth. Sira stared at him, her good eye wide. You're calling reinforcements," she whispered, fear and awe in her voice. Elias shook his head. "Not reinforcements," he said. "Witnesses. They need to see what's happening here." Outside, the commander and his officers realized something was wrong. Their screens flickered with images they could not control, videos of their own cruelty broadcast to millions. Panic rippled through the station. Orders were shouted, weapons raised, but the human presence was already arriving, with guns, but with law, justice, and observation. You wouldn't dare," the commander muttered, pale and trembling. Elias met his gaze evenly. "We already did," he said. "The first human ships appeared in orbit, and soon signals from distant stations and allied fleets began to flood in. They were not firing yet. They did not need to. The mere presence of witnesses changed everything." The guards who had laughed at Sira's broken body now looked around nervously. Their jokes had stopped. The commander realized that what he thought was control had been shattered in an instant. Sira's hand gripped Elias's sleeve. "You risked your life for me," she said softly. Her voice shook with emotion, but this time it was not fear. It was gratitude. Elias smiled faintly. "No," he said. "I risked nothing. I did what had to be done." The commander, for the first time, understood that he was outmatched, not because humans were stronger in weapons or numbers, but because humans did something he had not considered. They fought for life, for justice, for truth, and that kind of strength could not be crushed with bullets or fear. Sira watched as the first human observers docked remotely, transmitting warnings and recording evidence. She felt something swell in her chest. This human, so small, so unassuming, had not bowed to cruelty. He had stood, calm and resolute, and in doing so, he had turned the station's power upside down. "You are unlike any human I thought I knew," she said. Elias shrugged. "We are many things," he replied, "but we will not let injustice go unchallenged." The commander glared at Elias, his own fear clear now. "You will pay for this," he hissed. "You and your broken alien." Sira's voice rang out, steady and proud despite her weak body. "I am not broken," she said. "You are wrong, and he is right. We will not bow. We will not be silenced." Elias placed a hand gently on her shoulder, steadying her. "We are stronger together." he said. And sometimes, courage is enough to change everything. Outside the room, the station's communications were flooded with alerts, evidence, and warnings. Across sectors, humans watched the cruelty that had been hidden for so long. The station's authority began to crumble as sanctions, investigations, and fleet warnings came pouring in. The commander's plans had failed. The soldiers who laughed at Syrah's suffering now stared at him, their morale shattered. The fear they had tried to instill in others was now upon them. Syrah looked at Elias, tears in her eye, but not of pain. They were tears of relief, respect, and awe. "I thought humans were weak," she whispered, "but you are. Everything I never imagined." Elias's lips pressed into a thin line. "Strength isn't about what you can destroy," he said softly. "It's about what you protect. You survived. You fought, and now we make sure others know the truth." And as human ships began to orbit the station, shining their lights on the hidden corners and dark deeds, everyone realized something new. Humanity did not always strike first. Sometimes it waited, watched, protected, and when the moment came, it struck in ways no one expected. The commander's smirk was gone. The soldiers' laughter was gone. And in that tense silence, a broken alien woman stood beside a human man. And together they had shown the station what courage truly meant. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had shown its teeth. The station no longer felt like a place of power. Its halls, once echoing with orders and laughter at cruelty, were now silent. The human ships remained in orbit, their presence unyielding, their eyes watching every corner. No one moved without consequence. No one acted without risk. The commander and his guards realized, too late, that the rules had changed. Elias stood beside Syrah in the small maintenance room. She was stronger now, though still wounded, her silver-blue skin marked with scars that told her story. Her chest rose and fell steadily, and the fire in her eye that had dimmed after the attack now burned bright. The human presence outside had ensured she would not be taken again. Soon the first disciplinary teams arrived. They moved quickly, efficiently, and without mercy for those who had abused their power. The commander was dragged into the corridor, his armor stripped, his face pale. Guards who had laughed at Syrah's broken body were named, recorded, and publicly condemned. The station itself seemed smaller now, diminished in the shadow of human justice. Syrah's gaze did not leave Elias. "You could have walked away," she said softly. "You didn't. You risked everything for me." "Why?" Elias's eyes were steady, calm. "Because if I let them break you," he said, "then they break something inside me too. Some part of my humanity would die if I did nothing." She nodded slowly, understanding dawning in her gaze. Her warrior pride flared, tempered by the fragile respect she now held for this human who had saved her. "You healed more than my body," she said. "You healed a part of me I thought I had lost forever." The council from the human fleet broadcasted their judgment across the station. The commander was stripped of rank and sentenced for crimes against sentient life. The guards were reassigned, disciplined, and marked for their cruelty. The galaxy had been watching, and the consequences were swift and uncompromising. Syrah stood tall beside Elias as the formal orders were read. She felt an unfamiliar warmth in her chest, sense of relief, a sense of vindication, a sense of life that was no longer chained by fear. For the first time since the ambush, she felt like more than a survivor. She felt like someone who mattered. "You are human," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I never understood your people before. I thought you were weak, but I see now. Some of you are stronger than any warrior I've known." Elias smiled faintly. "Strength isn't just about fighting," he said. "It's about protecting, caring, and standing up when it matters most. You are proof of that too." She looked down at her hands, still marked with scars, still trembling from her injuries. Then she lifted her head, meeting his gaze. "I thought my life was over," she said, "but you showed me. It's only just beginning." The station began to feel different. Where there had been fear, there was now respect. Where there had been cruelty, there was now accountability. The humans had arrived, not with weapons to kill, but with principles that could not be ignored. Sira placed a hand over her chest, a Valari gesture of deep gratitude. "You gave me hope," she said simply, "and hope is stronger than fear." Elias nodded, watching the ships orbiting above, the human symbols of justice and truth glowing against the black of space. "And it is contagious," he said softly. "One act of courage can change more than we realize. Today, we did not just save a life. We changed the course of this station and, maybe more." Sira leaned slightly closer, trusting him not just with her life, but with her story. In the quiet aftermath of judgment, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safety. Not just from immediate harm, but from the cruel expectations of those who sought to break her spirit. Elias reached out and gently touched her arm. "You are not a joke. You are not broken. And you never will be again," he said. For the first time, Sira believed it. The human before her had shown her a truth that went beyond fear or anger or revenge. That mercy, courage, and love could be stronger than any weapon. And in that knowledge, the alien woman who had been handed as a broken prize finally began to feel whole. The station had been judged, the guilty punished, and in the quiet aftermath, a human and a Valari warrior stood together, living proof that compassion could triumph over cruelty, and that even in a galaxy filled with darkness, hope could shine brighter than any star. Weeks passed. The station was no longer a place of cruelty and laughter at the weak. The commander had been removed, the guards disciplined, and whispers of human justice had spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Elias and Sira moved freely now, though she still carried the marks of her injuries. Each scar was a story, each bruise a memory, but none of them could erase the strength she now felt inside. The Galactic Council convened in a grand chamber orbiting a nearby planet. Representatives from dozens of species filled the seats, watching as Sira approached the podium. She was no longer the broken soldier they had seen weeks before. Her silver-blue skin gleamed under the council lights, her spine straight, her voice steady. Even with a slight limp, her presence was commanding. "I was given to a human as a joke," Sira began. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "They expected cruelty. They expected laughter at my weakness. They expected me to be broken and silent." Her eyes scanned the council, then paused on Elias, standing humbly among the observers. "Instead," she continued, "they found courage. They found mercy. They found someone who refused to let cruelty define another life." The council members were silent. Every eye followed her, some filled with awe, some with shame, and some with disbelief. They had seen humans as fragile and unpredictable, but what Sira described was far stronger than any weapon. Elias shifted slightly, uncomfortable with attention, but he did not turn away. He had acted because it was right, not because he wanted recognition. Yet, as Sira spoke, the impact of his choice became clear to everyone in the chamber. They handed me to him, broken, Sira said, her voice rising. They expected me to suffer. They expected him to follow the rules, to stay silent, to watch me die. But he did not. He healed me. He protected me. And he reminded me that life is not for amusement. It is to be valued, defended, and cherished. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some representatives shifted in their seats, uncomfortable with the truth. Others nodded slowly,